Thank you. It's such a treat to be here. You all are literally my favorite people in the world to work with. If you look around the room, you'll actually see the people who are inventing the future of productivity. And what I wanted to do to start us off today is to talk a little bit about how we view productivity at Microsoft, with the goal of trying to engage you in some of the key challenges that we have. Because as a company, we understand that research is fundamental to building the products that we create. And you can see the importance of research show up in our company in unexpected ways. And this is one of my favorite. So you all are probably familiar with Mark Weiser. He was considered the founder of ubiquitous computing and was a chief scientist at Xerox PARC back in the early 80s. But what you may not know is that our CEO, Satya Nadella, is also very familiar with Mark Weiser's work. And Satya really likes this quote from a Scientific American article that Mark wrote back in 1991 titled The Computer for the 21st Century. And in that article, he said, the most profound technologies are those that disappear. The most profound technologies are those that disappear. They weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life until they are indistinguishable from them. And if you want proof that your research and what you're doing is important, you need only look at the fact that Microsoft now, 30 years later, is working to make that vision that Mark had a reality. We're working to make computers disappear. Now, obviously, Microsoft loves computers. You know, I don't know that this is working. Oh, there, it's just slow. So obviously, Microsoft loves computers. We owe our existence to computers. You may be familiar with this quote, from Bill Gates, which was our initial mission statement, that Microsoft was built to put a computer on every desk and in every home. But, you know, technology has become so ubiquitous that a mission statement like this just doesn't make sense anymore. Sure, you've got a computer on your desk and at home, but you've got a computer in your pocket and in your bag and in your car and in your light switch. Technology has embedded so deeply in the world around us that the thing that matters is what it enables us to do. And this is reflected in Microsoft's current mission statement, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And you'll notice there's nothing in there about the computer and where you're supposed to put it. And you guys know this, right? Like, computing has just become so embedded in everything that it's impacting our lives, our work, our society, our legal systems, our economic systems. And this is all the result of a profound shift that started back in the early 90s when Mark Weiser wrote that Scientific American article. And the thing that's really helped drive that shift is the web. So as we look to the future of productivity and where we're going as a research field and as an organization and as a society, it's useful to look back to understand that the changes that the web has brought about so far. Now, I want you to think about the first time that you saw the web And those of you who are under 30 don't remember, but I do. I remember being in this dungeon of a computer lab at my undergrad institute, and this guy called me over and he's like, Jamie, come check this out. And he showed me my very first web page through the Lynx browser. Now, at the time, the web was entirely text-based. You may remember having to tab around to get between links and click return to follow any of them. Honestly, I thought it was really dumb. Fortunately, I wasn't too dumb to recognize that that guy was someone special and we're now married with 4 kids. But I wasn't completely wrong about the web either. It just wasn't that useful at that point. But it did open the door to 2 key shifts. The first is it created lightweight ways for people to communicate. So much so that at Microsoft, we now consider collaboration a fundamental part of every product we build. A product that doesn't include collaboration is broken. But we're only just starting to understand how online collaboration is going to change the way that we work and the way that we live as it becomes increasingly easy to pull together the right people at the right time in the right context. And the emergence of platform-mediated work is going to change the organizations that Microsoft was created to serve and the products that we build. And there's a couple of sessions at the Faculty Summit looking at this shift. Now, the second shift that the web brought about, oh, and I didn't advance my slides, sorry. There was something pretty about connecting people. But the second key shift is that the web made it possible for us to observe people's interactions with software at scale. So, you know how I thought the web was dumb? The thing that changed my mind was web search. Web content becomes useful once you can find it. In fact, I was so excited about web search that I went to work at an early search engine called InfoSeek, and then I went on to get my doctorate in information retrieval. But while I was right that web search was going to be transformative, I was actually wrong about why. You know, I thought we were building this oracle to all the world's knowledge, where you could ask any question and get an answer. And we've made amazing progress on this front. But what I missed was that it was how this would happen that matters. The way that web search engines got to be as good as they are today is behavioral data. Web search engines see the queries that people issue and the results that they click, and they use this information to get better. And while this was new with web search engines, it's now the way every product you use is built. Every product engages people, and that engagement produces behavioral data. And that behavioral data is then fed back into the system to create better products, which in turn drives more engagement. And these feedback loops are driven by you. They're driven by research. They're driven via experimentation, where we use behavioral data to compare 2 different versions of a system. And they're driven via artificial intelligence, where we feed that data back into the system so that the system itself can directly learn. And the research that we all are doing on the future of productivity, it's not a thing about the actual future. It's directly relevant right now to the products we are building now. But you know, we need to be thoughtful about this. Because somewhere along the way, we seem to have mistaken engagement for the end goal. So much so that our computing devices now drive our attention. I mean, did you know that people notice their phone is missing before they notice their wallet is missing? What's more, people notice their phone is missing before they notice their kids are missing. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm pretty sure it would be true for me, and my 4 boys are very noisy. Now, your phone wasn't built to capture your attention. It was actually built to connect you with other people, and then later to connect you with information. But somewhere along the line, as the applications on your phone started using your data to get better, it became something you couldn't put down. And we need to flip this around. If computing is going to become part of the fabric of everything, the way Mark Weiser predicted, it can't distract us. It has to help us focus on the things that matter. And to do this, we need to put people at the center of our feedback loops. Because engagement is not the end goal, their success is. And this is where our research comes in and it gets really interesting. Because there's all sorts of things we need to do to figure out how to do this. We need to get people to tell us what success means for them. That means capturing their intent. It means asking them, it means understanding natural language, it means understanding the context that they're in, it means figuring out what matters to them, helping them prioritize what's important. We also need to figure out richer kinds of data to collect and to build and grow our tools on more than just behavioral data. For example, we have a product called Workplace Intelligence that helps organizations understand their organizational data and use that to create a more engaged workforce. And Workplace Intelligence is essentially allowing us to tie our systems of engagement to our customer systems of record. We're also starting to capture information about how the content that people create is consumed, so that it's not just big companies that are using feedback loops and understanding how their information is used as a way to improve. But every person, we're empowering people to use that same information to create better content. And we also need to sometimes engage people directly in the system. Because right now, most of the learning we do is based on this implicit feedback that people provide. But people know so much more than just labels. And so we need to use things like machine teaching to engage people in telling us about the structure of the problems they're thinking about and about the reasons why they think something is important or not. By placing people at the center of our feedback loops, we make it possible to create productivity tools that don't just get more engaging the more they're used, but they actually get better. But I actually think the most interesting thing is to finish the impact and think about how these feedback loops not only impact our products, but how they can impact the people that use the products. Because there's an opportunity to use these same feedback loops to not just help people, and not just help the products get better, but actually help people get better the more they use them. Because the fact that software impacts our attention, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can impact our attention in a way that helps us accomplish the things that matter. And you can see this starting to show up in some of the products we're building as well. So for example, we have a tool called My Analytics that helps reflect on your own productivity data and think about how you can be doing things better. It might give you a nudge if you're going to send an after-hours email to somebody to be like, people don't bug people now. Let them have their rest. We also have something called the presenter coach, which uses speech understanding and natural language to understand and help you improve your presentation skills, to help you with pacing, to help you not say and ah, help you use more inclusive language. And so to make these things that I've just talked about more concrete, I'd like to share a video of some of the ways that Microsoft is working to help our products and the people who use them get better over time.
The majestic information worker in his natural environment. Here we witness an important ritual, the creation of the sales presentation. See how he boldly distills mountains of information into a clear, coherent message. Note the strong challenge and novelty of his work, the unshakable focus, the clear-eyed dedication. Triumphant, he brings the fruits of his labor to his clients. Truly a remarkable display.
AI, Microsoft 365 learns from you as you use it, bringing new focus, clarity, and impact to the work you do every day. My Analytics shows you where you're spending your time, and Windows Focus Assist keeps you on task by filtering out inessential notifications. Ideas flow, from research to intelligent analysis that learns from you and finds insights in your data without the grunt work. Communicate more effectively with built-in intelligence that helps refine your ideas as you work. Task management and collaboration happen right in the app without breaking your workflow, and integration with Teams makes communication seamless. It's easier than ever to find and reuse existing content with Microsoft Search, while Ideas in Word provides useful guidance to enhance your writing. When it's time to build a presentation, PowerPoint provides design ideas, suggests supporting visuals, and breaks complex figures into something more relatable. With every suggestion, it learns a little more about what works for you. There are even intelligent features that help you improve, honing your presentation skills and strategies so nothing gets between you and your audience. Tools that learn from you, help you grow, and empower you to succeed, wherever you are. That's the promise of Microsoft 365.
So there was a lot going on in that video. And I'm just going to take you quickly through a couple of the clusters of things that I think are particularly important to pay attention to. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is that there's a lot of places where you see technology augmenting people's existing interactions with other people and with the people, places, and things in their world that matter. And this is sort of what we were talking about at the start with computers disappearing. You know, with the focus moving to what people are doing instead of what they, instead of like on the computer. And the cool thing about this is you actually can start seeing ways that we're making the world better. It's not just about keeping technology from getting in the way of your face-to-face interactions or getting in the way of how you interact with the world, but actually augmenting it. You see that with Teams, where we blur the background or make it easier to see the content that you want to see. HoloLens is another great example of where we're really pushing the boundaries there. We've got instances of HoloLens deployed on the factory floor where you can get remote assistance to help you figure out how to do things. So if you're not an expert at fixing this particular device, somebody else can come in and help guide you through that process in the actual experience of doing it. So that's thinking about how we can use technology to help what people are doing now. And you see a lot of that, but what's harder to capture in a video is how these tools are getting better with use, where these feedback loops are actually improving things. But you can see in the video where we're capturing the data that's necessary to improve those systems. And one of the examples I really like here is all of the stuff that we've done with PowerPoint. And many of you may have already used the PowerPoint Designer, which helps you translate your content into something that's more appealing and better understandable by your audience. Some ridiculous number, I can't remember the exact number, but it's over a quarter of all slides are now being produced or augmented by PowerPoint Designer. And I like this example of something that's come out of Microsoft research that actually uses natural language understanding to help people get their messages across better. So the text on this slide was clean energy can help our country save $24 billion a year. Sounds like a lot, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. Understanding that text, we can then translate it into something that's relevant for people and let them know that that's about $7 per person in the US. And that becomes an interesting way to understand that. And so these are examples, though. Both of these are examples of how we're using our tools to improve people's experiences and help them get what they want to get done now and in the future as the tools get better. But I also want to highlight some of what we were talking about, about the fact that our tools impact people's attention, impact what we choose to do, impact how we choose to do them. And there are actually examples there. In the video you saw Focus Assist, help avoid distractions. This is another example that I really like, particularly because it draws on my research, so I just sort of selfishly find it fun. It draws on my research and also research that I've done with Shamsi Iqbal and other folks at Microsoft Research. And we spent years studying micro-productivity. And how do you understand the small ways that people can get things done? How, we have fragmented time. How can you help people be focused, and how can you help people when their time is fragmented get things done in those spare moments? And so this is something that we've then recently worked on with the Office folks to think about how you help people stay in the flow and kind of offload the small tasks that don't need to get done while you're doing it so that they can be done later. So here a person said they wanted to add a picture of an HVAC installation. Going into your email and searching for that particular picture is time consuming and a lot of work and distracting. But we all leave these notes. Everybody does this. Now we can automatically identify them, pull them out for you to do later, and even when it's something that we see and can understand, we can provide intelligent assistance as well. So here we can actually start surfacing places where we think that picture might be. And right after this session, there's a session on micro-productivity that I encourage you to attend and learn more about that. And then finally, the impact that we have on people can be short-term, but just in the same way that our tools grow over time, the impact can also be one that improves people's experiences with computers over time as well. And this is the presenter coach example that I mentioned earlier. And I think we're going to see more and more examples of our tools helping people learn and grow and get better. Because, artificial intelligence is cool because it can scale human intelligence. But what that means is that the cultivating human intelligence and what people can do is becoming even more important and more impactful. And then, so these are sort of the 4 areas that I like to highlight in that video. And they're the result of this shift that we were talking about to the web. And we're still in the middle of this shift. We don't really know where it's going. We need research and deep thought to help us understand and to move into the future of productivity in a way that's intentional and good for the world around us. And for that reason, we're announcing today a $1 million Microsoft Productivity Research request for proposals. And we're calling for research in these 4 basic areas. So we're interested in understanding interaction and sensing. What does it mean to interact with the world? How does technology augment our existing things that we want to get done? How do we use natural language for this? How do we use new devices and new interaction modalities? And we actually, as part of this RFP, have a bunch of hardware available as well. So there are Surface Hub 2s and HoloLens 2s and Connects for Azure that you can use to really deeply understand new form factors and new ways of working. We're also interested in calling for research related to machine learning and machine teaching. You know, and this is like, there's tons of research and tons of things pushing the boundaries of machine learning and machine teaching. We're particularly interested in things that relate to some of the unique challenges we have at this company. You know, how do you learn over large-scale customer data in a way that's privacy preserving? How do you learn, how do you help our customers build their own models of learning so we don't even have to interact with their data? They can go apply the machine learning. How do we help people deal with structure in the data? You know, machine learning is very, very kind of leaf node centric. There's lots of labels. How do we extract structure from that data? And how do we allow people to communicate structure to the learning algorithms so that they can use people's real knowledge and not just to like, this is relevant or this is not feedback symbol? We're also interested in research related to attention and engagement. Understanding how our tools influence people and how we can have them influence us in a way that meets our goals versus doesn't. Because the truth is, everything we build influences people, whether we like it or not. We need to be intentional and thoughtful about that. And then finally, we're also looking for research related to collaboration and human learning. How do we coach people? How do we help people grow over time? You know, and here, it's actually particularly interesting to think about the way organizations are changing as well. You know, Microsoft was really created to serve enterprises. So the core of Microsoft is an enterprise company. What does it mean as the nature of enterprises are changing, as freelance work becomes more and more common? How is that going to impact the kinds of tools that we need to be building? So we're offering up $1 million plus hardware and grants up to $250,000. The deadline is in 2 months on October 16th, and I hope to see proposals from all of you. This is just one of the ways that you can engage with the Microsoft community. And you know, Sandy listed a bunch of ways. This faculty summit is clearly one. Send us your students as interns. And I know a bunch of you also work deeply already with folks at Microsoft.